What's up guys, it's Eric. I'm a kicking coach and I make kicking videos from time to time. So today we're going to talk about how often you should be kicking, what's your routine going to look like, off season, on season, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. So I think the most cliche answer is it really does depend on where you're at in the season, what you're looking to achieve as far as your growth goals in terms of the weight room, in terms of on the field performance, how far along in the championship rounds you are, things like that. And what I mean by that is you're in the off season way more than you are in actual season. So we need to be doing everything we can during that period to build up strength as much as possible. Yes, kicking a lot is fine to an extent. I don't want my guys, at least that I coach, to have 5 days in a row of kicking or anything like that. I'd rather flip it on its head and even work out 5 days a week and maybe kick once or twice or maybe 3 times a week. But now, once you go into the season, you're really trying to maintain that strength that you built up on the off season, and you're not really trying to max out on squat, bench, deadlift, whatever. You're trying to keep your strength throughout the entire season because you did work 9 months for it. So you might as well do your best to keep it. Instead of you going and kicking, 5 times during the season, every day, 100 footballs, for some reason people think that that's how you get better. That's actually how you get injured and probably never kick again. So during the season, what you should do instead is ramp down all the way until game day and then have like a recovery day or 2 and then get back at it. What I would do if I were you is, depending on what grade you're in and when you play your game, is you just ramp down 4 days consecutively until game day. So what it would look like, let's say you have a Friday game, 40 kicks on Monday. That includes your warm-up thumps, so your 1 steps, your no steps, all of that is included. Then kickoffs too. Then Tuesday, you do 30 kicks, 20 kicks, 10 kicks, and then on game day, you're fresh, you've stretched, you've done everything, and now it's ready to rock and roll. Because if you go in day 1, 80 kicks, then 70 kicks, then 80 kicks again, my God, by the time you're playing your game, you're like halfway through the day or halfway through the game and your legs are shot and you're like 3 games into the season. You got, 7, 10, 15 more. It doesn't make any sense to continue on this path of high volume, especially when you're in the season. So again, I would always recommend to take your heaviest kicking day, which is usually the start of the week, whether that be on a Sunday or a Monday, and have the most amount of kicks in that day. You could easily divide the kicking by your category and what you're doing on the team. So if you do kickoff, field goal, and punt, you might do, an example might be 25 field goals, 10 kickoffs, 5 punts, or 10 punts, 5 kickoffs. There's a lot of ways to vary it, but again, you'll have to decide what one you want to focus on the most today. I would never give someone a one-size-fits-all approach for how they should get better. If you're not excelling that much on field goals, maybe you need to focus more on field goals and have 35 kicks that day, maybe like 2 kickoffs and 3 punts that same day. Or you just don't do any field goals that day, just take a breather, do kickoffs and punts for most of the practice. It's just like, it really does depend on where you're at, where your head's at, how you're feeling. If you're like overly stressed, I wouldn't keep going. I would actually just call it a day at that point. But yeah, just ramp down as you go throughout the week. Now, during the off season, it's a totally different story. Like I said, you're trying to build up strength during the off season. So a realistic routine might look like 4 days of a workout in a week. So you might have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday workout, and then Tuesday, Thursday, maybe Sunday kick. Realistically, this is a time to build up as much strength as possible. I wouldn't really even recommend going past 3 days a week in kicking. A good routine that I would always do for myself when I was getting prepped for college, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I would kick Tuesday, Thursday, and then after my workout on Saturday, I would go kick as well because it was a lighter day. It was like a cardio thing with the pool workouts, so I was pretty fresh. But it wasn't after like a leg day or anything where my legs are shot and my technique's gonna be out of whack. Anyway, the main thing here is to pay attention to where you're at in the season, how often you're going to be kicking, and sort of reverse engineer the way that you're approaching the season. So again, putting that into perspective is, let's say you're all the way into the state championship, you're practicing that week. Should you kick 100 footballs in a day? Probably not. If you've done the routine like recommended, where you ramp down every day and then you kick maybe 10 times the day before the game, you'll likely last the entire season without having your legs be overly shot. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Because if you go that whole season and you're kicking at a consistent rate and you're not trying to break past a certain kick count, first of all, your mind's probably going to be a lot sharper because you're not overwhelmed with the amount of kicks that you've had. Your technique is going to be way better because you haven't allowed yourself to kick enough to where you start to make a small tweak and you say, oh, that works, let me do that again. And then your technique breaks off in like 3 days. If you keep it to a certain kick count, your quality will be much better. And of course, that will lead into so many other things in terms of your kicks. You'll be more confident, you'll be more consistent, you'll probably win more awards, and you'll be fresher longer throughout the season. Your coaches will trust you, probably get more scholarships, you'll get paid more if you're in the pros. Like, it's a great way to sort of structure your routine. A lot of the pros do this where they'll have a set kick count and they don't break past that. They realistically might kick 10, 15, maybe 20 times a day, but past that, not really, because they have a long season. I wouldn't treat it any different than if I was in the high school league or even below that in Pee Wee or anything like that. I know they're playing like 7 positions, but the rule still applies at any level, where you shouldn't have like a sporadic amount of days where you're just kicking a bunch, working out a bunch. It needs to be controlled and disciplined. Awesome, that's all I got for you guys today. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment below with your favorite part, and I'll be happy to do some giveaways and cool things with my subscribers very soon. But until next time, guys, stay tuned. Pew, pew.